Hello everyone, and welcome to a really excited news about WARNO. As Odino is out, it's the 1 year anniversary, and Eugen is coming with a Friday patch. Those mad lads, out of the blue, they even kept it a secret from the strike team, and they are here now with Odino. You can find all the information about all the massive reworks in here in the dev blog. I will link that down below, but you also can watch the video series I will do about it, where I also will show you what all that stuff does. And we start with the first division, Berlin Command, and let's jump in there. It's the first of the two new divisions. It's in the new NATO faction, and it's the most multicultural one we got yet. As you can see, already some changes here of the patch in general. We have a lot more CV options in this deck than usual. All are rather similar here, and all have lower availability. That's now part of the new CV rework, which we will have a look more in upcoming videos. And yeah, let's have a look here. VABs, P4s, all decent, all rather similar. I would say the Humvee is a rather decent one as well. No armor, but more hit points than the Rover, and especially the P4. VAB though, 8 hit points, armor, quite nice, and amphibious capabilities, which you can find up here now. And then, yeah, this one is also armored with 10 hit points, which is quite nice. Supply, all really similar. The Bedford has a bit more. These two have the same amount. The French truck slightly faster than the M35. You also have speeds now at 100 kmh. Yeah, and 108. That's still the same. Yeah, so this is the first of the logistic tabs. Then the infantry tab. Really wild mix here. We get some pre-wods, which we already know. The French small unit, that's your 10-point unit. That's the most throwaway of them all. Just there to hold the line. They have the new military police feature though, which gives more sturdiness to a nearby unit. Military police, similar, but with an MG, and slightly bigger squad. Costs you 5 points more as well though. Has the military police as well. And then the RMP for more military police. With a bit more different weapon loadout, but for 15 points, they have one less hit point. And not really better than the military police. They come with better availability. No, they don't even come with better availability. So the RMP not really useful currently in the deck. Maybe something can be done about that. Then the gun group with 2 MGs, pretty helpful. As the game is about suppression and those MGs do good suppressions. Then we have some medium MGs here with the ANF, which can come in a VAB. Really solid option. And then we come to the interesting part with some engineer flash here. Flash still with 8 shots, still salvo length 4, so pretty strong. Engineered dragons, also always helpful with the Dragon 1. Cheap for an AT weapon system that can shoot over longer ranges. Then a couple of MG teams here. And then the Freiwillige Polizeireserve as the first German unit with some G3A4 German rifles, but some British MGs. So a nice interesting mix here. Disheartened and security unit at the same time. So interesting new trait combination there on this unit. These engineers, for example, have the new shock, which is making them better in CQC. Same for the engineers, which gives them more stress in CQC. The Wombat comes in as a lovely recoilless rifle unit. The Milan one, decent, is the only ATGM option. Or, oh no, you have the Milan 2 as well, right? So you have both ATGM options here as well. You have a lot of different rifle options here as well. The RAF rifles, not having the AT weapon, but being also a good bit cheaper. So these are disheartened as well though. Reservist units as well, so they take more shock. Yeah, the gameplay implications, we really have to see how it plays out. I really like the new features. The new trade system is great to differentiate. Infantry, we will have to have a lot of testing. I would say the rifles here still really worth it though. The Law 80 is still great, so that is great new stuff. And then we have the Terrier Pioneers, which we already know. Some satchel charges here on some shock units. Sapper Flam for a normal flamethrower. So you have Flash, you have TNT, and you have a flamethrower. So all kinds of CQC you kind of want to have covered. The Rover Wombat for Rover with a weapon here on the rear. So maybe similar to what we got with the SPG-9, though it has slower rate of fire, so I don't think it will be as obnoxious. It also, I think, has... No, the range I think is the same, but it has a lower rate of fire, slightly higher damage, but the rate of fire is a big thing with the SPG-9. And then we have a new infantry unit here. the Berlin Light Rifles, 2 MGs, 8 M16s, no traits, but a recoilless rifle with 6 rounds. An amazing unit. The Berlin Light Rifles are a fantastic, fantastic unit. For 65 points, they are a bit on the more expensive end, but the recoilless rifle is still really, really good. Yeah, this thing does absolutely do a fantastic. I recommend taking all 3 cards at the moment in the current stats. Maybe it might be even a bit too good. But yeah, the infantry tab here, as you can see, really well balanced. A lot of choices. You can do the deck you want with this. Grenadier Voltigeurs with the LRAC if you want to have cheaper long range 850 meter. If you want to have more expensive 850 meter, you go with the rifles. And then the Berlin rifles with the recoilless rifle and more firepower here for that. And then the different infantry option, like the different CQC infantry options, a couple of reservist units. You really have everything you need in this infantry tab. And you have a good lot of slot to cover it. Artillery, decent. You have some M109s and then some howitzers here, but then mostly mortars here in different shapes and forms. All the mortars you want, and the 2 American ones and the French one in a mobile platform, and then 2 smaller teams here with the British only getting in with the 81mm mortar. And then tanks, it's pretty cool. We have 2 new additions, 2 completely new additions to the roster with the Raiden here as the FV932 Raiden, which is a FV432 with a 20mm turret on top from a warrior basically. So no armor though. For 25 points, yeah, it's not super cost efficient. It dies to basically everything, but it gives you an autocannon. And as you don't have IFVs, this, if you want to have autocannons, this is your way to go. So you have to be careful if you want to take this. It takes a tank slot, and it's not super cost efficient. 25 points is relatively cheap, but it doesn't have frontal armor. It doesn't have side armor. It just dies to anything touching it, looking at it. But it gives you an autocannon. So if an autocannon is what you need, this lovely, cute little vehicle is your friend. P-Force with Milan, Rover with Milan, both basically identical. And the Rover just a bit slower, so I guess the P4 Milan is what you should go with. Just based on that, though the 4 kmh don't make much difference. I wouldn't recommend taking both. And then we have a new tank with a rather old tank, the AMX 1390. It is another autoloader tank with 12 rounds of fire. Autoloader not being affected by stress, not being affected by veterancy either though, which is not really helpful with these tanks, because the veterancy part is a downside, and the stress part with the T80Bs, it makes a difference because, and the T72s, because they get hit often, so they get stressed. The MX-13 here, if that gets hit, it just dies. So the stress, it doesn't usually get much stress because it either is unstressed or it's dead. And with the new stress system, that might make it might be different, and we have to check it out how artillery and so on affects it now. Maybe the autocannon though, the autoloader, still nice because 12 rounds per minute is still pretty good. The gun itself though, 40 accuracy, static, really low, 5% on motion, obviously unusable, and 13 damage on 1925 meter, not great, as this thing is more expensive than a T55 or an M48, and it's worse than both in armor and in penetration. So yeah, it's really living around the autoloader, and its high rate of fire, and I'm not sure it's good enough for that. So no French bias in this unit. The MX-30B I would recommend more. The great range, decent frontal armor, decent penetration makes this thing a lot more worthwhile in my eyes. The still only has heat rounds, so doesn't really get better damage. Same here. So the heat round is, yeah, just meaning that it will always deal 1 damage, but it also doesn't get more damage over time. So yeah, it's more deficit than a plus, but sometimes it's a plus. It means that you can at least deal some damage to the really heavy tanks, but you would need insane amount of numbers to overwhelm a really heavy tank. And getting closer doesn't help you, which with this tank is nice because it's a sniper anyway, but this thing has to get close still, but then doesn't benefit from getting really close, so not a fan of the AMX-13. The Humvee with the TOW, I'm a rather big fan of. You can get the same with an M901. Then you get some lovely support tanks here as well. And then we get to the bigger burst in the division. The Chieftain Mark tank, another version of the Chieftain with a lovely, lovely camouflage. Other than that, basically identical to a Chieftain Mark 11. I don't think there's any difference in the stats. I might be wrong with that, but I don't think there is. So, yeah, it's a pretty good tank. Over the Mark 9, it has the extra range, which is good. It still has only 7 rate of fire, which is the downside of the Chieftains, their low rate of fire. But for 190 points, it's a decent tank. The M1IP, I like a bit more though, as you get better frontal armor. You have less range though, better accuracy, better rate of fire. But the lesser range means that, yeah, the Chieftain and the AMX-30 are your long range guys, and then the M1IP, I would say, is the tank that you try to achieve breakthroughs with, thanks to its frontal armor, thanks to its better speed as well, and thanks to its rate of fire. And a good stabilizer on top, though the stabilizer is just as good on the Chieftain. But yeah, you get some nice tank options here. You get some solid tank options. Nothing super high-end, like nothing above 200 points. No M1A1s, no AMX 30 B2s either. So it's not the best of the best, but it's decent enough. It's workable. It's for sure better than TKS or anything like that. So yeah, it's really in the middle of the bunch in all aspects, this deck, which makes it quite interesting. It's really the center. And the Recon tab is there as well. You get some Foxes, still really helpful. Have Amphibious, and they can also be really helpful with behind the line actions. Decent routing unit, so all around really cool. Then you get a new unit, the Detachment A, which is a recon unit with the new Special Forces training, which really makes them a lot stronger. MP5, SD6, and AT4s and satchels, so all what you need for CQC fighter power. The AT4 also really helpful as a good anti-tank option. 17 penetration, solid accuracy, solid range. Can get them into the Huey as well if you want to get them further forward. And then we have the Scouts, which we already know. No AT weapon on them. You can still bring them in the ACAF, which is still a fantastic weapon system. And then the BGS as a disheartened or a reservist unit, and the first female unit in the game with some female models here mixing in the unit, as the German Bundesgrenzschutz police forces used female conscripts already in the 80s. So yeah, here you go. Sonderwagen 4 has an extra transport with a Heckler & Koch 21 on top, which is a coaxial machine gun. So it fires along the axis of the vehicle. That's a new trait. Okay, interesting. Yeah, Sonderwagen 4. Sadly, this bulldozing stuff in front most likely won't have any extra impact on the vehicle. One armor everywhere, but fast and decent weapon all around. Scouts, the British one with the law. Sadly, none with the law 80. So I would say the French recon unit here is better. Both can come in recon weapons as well. Sonderwagen 4 Aufklärung with very good optics, instead of the good optics here on the Sonderwagen 4, the normal one. No unit though with exceptional optics in this deck, so that's a problem. You don't have any exceptional optics. Even your helicopter, your Alouette, only comes with very good. Your Alouette 3, still a decent recon helicopter, but a very good an exceptional optics unit currently would be really nice. Also none with the new recon with the ground radar trait on the infantry. So yeah, it's decent, but it's not fantastic as a recon tab. AA, you get nothing special. Like, this might be the biggest weakness of the deck. At least the manpads you get are pretty decent though. You get Mistrals, you get Stingers, you get Javelins. The pivots will help out, as your only decent gun AA, but still not fantastic either. And then you get a good couple of Javelins. Yeah, it's a pretty low-end AA tab though. And together with the air tab, the big weakness of this deck. Helicopter, you're pretty much on par with the other British decks. Hell Arms with Itos and the Gazelle Rocket. only 2 slots for 2 cards, which are also not super cheap. Yeah, this is all around a decent tab. And then you come in with the air tab. Also, in general, you can see a lot more 2-cost slots in this deck than previously. They did a bit of a rework there. And then we have the air tab where we have one of the big selling points of this division, the F-117 Nighthawk. The GBUs on it, the laser-guided bombs, still work in progress, but it's a pretty cool thing. It's a pretty cool-looking beast for sure. And then you get another massive bomber here with 16,400 kilogram bombs in the form of the Mirage 4. 40 ECM, 1,200 kmh speed. And the seed version also high-speed bombers, but also highly expensive. The seed one also brings bombs next to it. And then your only AA options are Harriers. So together with the low-range AA, you really will struggle to get an air umbrella up. Your Mirage 4s really have to hope that you're up against a deck that doesn't have too many fast fighters, and then you maybe can use them that way. But using air and using AA in this deck will be an absolute pain. Like, this really is the big weakness of the deck. In general, though, a really cool all-rounder deck in all the other tabs, all middle of the bunch, with some cool strong points in infantry, some decent mix of tanks, a strong special force detachment A here, and artillery tab that is all around workable. So yeah, it's really cool. And if you want to roleplay a bit and you want to get the stuff out here, is a cool new division. But I wouldn't say it's on the top end. I would say it really fits in neatly in the middle, and you really have to play around the air. If you get bullied by air, it's hard to stop it. So I hope you will all have fun with this division, and yeah, have your eyes open on the upcoming videos about the other division, the East German one and Soviet one, and then the Operation Zentrum, and then also do the big video about all the other changes, as there has been a lot of changes. We're also gonna start a tutorial video, so a series soon here on the channel, so if you don't want to miss it, subscribe down below, leave a like so that more people get to know about Odino, more people come around to WARNO again, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye bye, and have a great day.